Truth will set you free, but you have to find the truth first. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday evening broadcast. Hope everybody enjoyed their Christmas holiday. Last time you heard from us was just the eve of the 21st. Guess what? We're still here. The world didn't end. I try to tell you. We have Jesse with us, as always. Jose is running a little bit late. He's going to try to get in later. Don't know where he's at today or what he has going on, but I'm sure he'll pop in when he can. So how you doing there, girlfriend?
I'm good as usual. A whole lot of nothing, just living day to day. How you doing, Doc?
All good, all good. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's all we can do is day to day. Did some searching and jumping around on the internet there last week. See what all the hype was, see what people were going to be chatting about, and but the whole 21st thing coming and going. Turns out that we're never out of the woods here on planet Earth. We're always threats of everything from storms to volcanoes to earthquakes to asteroids and meteors and comets. So it's like one of my favorite shows is 1,000 Ways to Die. Never got a chance to see that show. Check it out. I'm sure they have that on. They're all over. There's probably some episodes on YouTube. They're on Netflix. They're everywhere. But yeah, it's
awesome. Sorry,
yeah.
I had to comment, but that show is awesome.
Absolutely. So it's like, yeah, we don't need no magical date that we're gonna die because, well, hell, we can sneeze and die. So why worry about it? Prepare always. Always prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's our motto. Anyhow, yeah, not much talk going on. The only other date I found was, I guess, because the big thing is with the sun activity. We were at its lowest point for the longest time. The 21st was supposed to be some of its highest point, along with the alignment that took place, and we're coming out of currently as we speak. As the planets always keep moving, so the perfect alignment only lasts for a hair of a second, if you will, and then it's not perfectly aligned anymore. Everything's in motion. It doesn't come to a stop, or that would be the end of everything. We have sun activity increased and possibilities of something leading on up into February, the middle of February. I think February 14th was the date I saw. So anytime between now and then, there is always the possibility, although small in nature, there is the possibility of a solar flare affecting our power grid and everything else as usual. So nothing new there, just like any solar flare, just a matter of how intense it hits and if it hits us directly or not. And so far, we've been very, very lucky over the last, few million years, if you will. So, all good. A couple more people have made it into the chat room. Thank you all for being here. Yep. Now I'm just checking the chat area there. See who's joined us this evening. Chris, everybody's heard of Chris. He joins us in chat nearly every week. He tries to anyway, has been for a very long time. He sent me an email of a letter, an article that he had written, and it covers the Second Amendment. That is much talk going on about that as they've been doing everything they can, the later half of this year and leading into next to, disarm us, quite frankly. People have voluntarily given up their guns for many, many years around the globe, including here in the Union. It's not, it literally is a global situation. There's many states, they've always had that, no questions asked, turn in your weapons kind of deal. They run them like once a year. It's a big picnic kind of deal. It's ran by the police departments, and you go in, no questions asked, and they, turn in whatever weapons you want. They do that, try to get illegal weapons off the street, and it's nothing new. They've been doing that forever. The sad part is when the honest people, good, honest Americans, go and, for whatever reason, decide to turn in their weapons. Because that's really what they want. And when you don't, when they want them, they will fight you for them, just like they did during Katrina. Yes, in the aftermath of it all, the court said that they were wrong. They had no right to do that, and they paid a hefty fine and had to return everybody's confiscated weapons, so on and so forth. But the point is, they will do it, whether there's a law to do so or not. And what are you going to do? Fight it in the courts? After the fact, like they did with Katrina? That is the real problem. People sit there and, sorry, if it comes to that, they're going to have to take me out in a body bag, because I will not give up my weapons. Not happening. So that's where that comes from. Yeah, Tony, we're live. Absolutely. Feel free to call into the show. Call-in number is 714-868-0749. Hey, we got a caller on the line already. I don't know if that's Tony from the chat room. It may actually be Jose calling in. Hey, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Tony.
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Good. So with regards to the gun issue, I have a plausible solution. One of the things that I noticed that this country is absolutely notorious for is reacting on problems, as opposed to, like the Japanese, we're not proactive. Now, the whole gun issue is a concern, obviously, because of the amendment. And so 305 million guns, that's kind of an issue. But as they say, guns don't kill people, people kill people. So it's just an instrument. But like the situation with regards to, let's say, drug addicts, heroin users, there's a pilot program in Canada that actually is working 100%, where they actually give people needles and a place to shoot up, because the addiction is a whole other problem. The immediate problem is crime and death. So in doing that, it is a relatively temporary solution to a magnanimous problem, a mountainous problem. So be it the same as with gun control. I don't know why they do not implement biometric fingerprint control locking devices on all handguns that they could easily, I wouldn't say easily, but they could readily install right now. It's not outer space technology. I've even got one on my computer. It can be implemented with relative ease. They could even have a program, gun swapping program. And basically, the technology has to be improved, but it's there. If they had, Steve Jobs level, Apple level technology on all guns, and nobody that has that gun, doesn't have that gun, cannot shoot it with fingerprint biotechnology, we might have a good little, solution to the problem in a matter of, 5 or 10 years, just like they did with the brake lights in all over the country, with manufacturers retroactively refitting the center brake light with all cars within a matter of, it was as little as 5 years. I know guns would be a lot more complicated, but nevertheless, it is very, very plausible and doable. I don't know why they don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Tony. It is a current technology. It's not something that's sci-fi. I've heard of that over the many years. It's something that they've been working on for a long time. Some places, I believe, have that option as well that they're currently using. I don't think it's open to the out to the general public yet, but we are definitely on the edge of that. My only concern with that, I like my horror films and my sci-fi films. And if you kind of think about it, it's like, okay, we know that in order to activate it, you need your fingerprint. Type of deal. It's your handprint, your palm print, your fingerprint, whatever the case may be, in order to make that particular weapon hot.
Right.
Well, because of you're thinking from the criminal aspect of things and how they think, well, that's not a problem. I don't need you alive to use your weapon. I just need your hand.
Right.
That's an extreme, I understand. But there's always that thought. The real thought that would concern me is, okay, if it can be programmable to more than one user, then I'd be a little bit more comfortable with it. And also to confirm that it doesn't have any kind of the so-called chipping technology, the shutdown technology, where
Right.
the government or whoever could sit there and send out a satellite signaling and automatically turns all those off. As far as now,
Right.
nobody can fire it. So there's always those concerns. But you're right, though. It's
And
not a bad.
and that's a legitimate concern, obviously. But again, I wouldn't advocate giving needles out to heroin addicts, but it's the lesser of two evils. I don't want people, killing people for drugs either. I don't want them. The ultimate goal, of course, is to not have the supply and demand, not have the demand, obviously. There's an old saying. First of all, I think one of the biggest problems of this country is freedom. Now, everyone's going to go, what are you talking about? This country was founded on freedom. The problem is the country was founded on freedoms of like-minded value system. This is a polygynous society, not a monogenous one. And you cannot legislate morality and values, as every law enforcement and legislative body has been trying to do since 1776. It doesn't work. In Japan, they don't do things because they just don't do things. In America, literally in California, there was a law that Schwarzenegger passed about 10 years ago. You can't have sex now with a dead body. Imagine that. They had to legislate that because obviously someone got caught. So the point is, consciousness has to be risen because there's an old saying, laws were made for the intelligent to be guided by and the absolute idiot to blindly oblige. Well, I'm far from an idiot, let alone an absolute one. So I don't need a law to know that it's illegal to molest a child or, take candy from someone or what have you. I don't need a law for that. But a lot of people do. Hence the guy that got caught screwing a dead corpse. So that's the problem with this country. That is the problem. And one of the sources of said problems is freedoms are not a right. It is a privilege. This should not be a right. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. I mean, I can rob a bank. Doesn't mean I should. I can father 17 kids. Doesn't mean I should. And that's the problem with people in this country. They're so hell-bent on waving the flag and don't take away our freedoms. Tell me, guy, do you think you should just get a 950 credit score just because? No, you have to earn it. You don't just get a degree because you have to earn it. And everything else. Even birth has to be earned through pain. All of life exists in what I'm saying. So why do Americans think that, we're exempt? They're not exempt. Just because you're born here doesn't, sure, you get certain human inalienable rights, but civil rights are determined by the society at large. And I think that the freedoms here need to be earned, period. And that's part of the problem with the Constitution is that forefathers didn't foretell 250 years in advance how people would morph into the unvalued, undisciplined, unethical, unscrupulous, immoral individuals. They couldn't foretell that. And that's one of the larger problems we have now.
Also, I just wanted to add, because you mentioned that program there in Canada with the needles.
Yeah.
They do that here in the Union, too.
Yeah, well, they give needles, but they don't give people the place to shoot up. It's the only place in North America, in Vancouver.
Oh, right, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
They don't provide the location, but they do give out the needles themselves.
Yeah,
they started doing that in the 80s when AIDS really started to get out of control and go, what seemed to be popping up everywhere. That's when they started the needle program here in the Union, was to try to offset some of the growth, if you will, in the AIDS cases.
Right. I mean, believe it or not, I have some pretty amazing radical ideas about, not radical, I guess they're radical for a lot of people, but, a lot of the problems that we have in this country, especially with regards to violence and gun control, it's a really complex, convoluted one. Something like, it would be like the Hatfield and McCoys, 150 years later, and it's just, the whole town is a mess, but, it's really difficult now to trace it back to the guy who threw the first stone, because it's gone so far and so long with so many areas of contention. It's just a Frankenstein, a juggernaut of a mess, and that's how this country is. But one of the things that people don't get is that as you know, it's as ridiculous as it may sound to the moral majority, but unfortunately, the wrong kind of people are being born. And it isn't about race. It can be, but it's not. It's about the quality of individuals being born into society. You know, when anybody can have a kid, anybody can just bear a child, but you can't even drive a license or sell a toothpick on a corner without a license. That's a pretty pathetic society. That I should have, as coming out of prison and shooting at heroin, I can have 7 kids. You know, I mean, there isn't a rewind button on having kids, but yet this individual grows up the way they grow up, and lo and behold, starts having criminal issues or is abused or whatnot, and now we've got New Haven, Connecticut, or Aurora, Colorado. Okay, that's a pathetic society, seriously. 40,000 people are killed every year with guns. I'm ex-military. I'm not against guns. I'm just against the people who have them, certain people. You know, and unfortunately, it's brought into the Constitution, so now it's an inalienable right. But like I said earlier, just because I can doesn't mean I should. You know, it's not a right any longer. If you had 50 kids in your house and you only had a 3-bedroom house, believe you me, you would start to run that household like a military regime. You'd have to, or you wouldn't survive.
Right.
Period. You know, because you made the mistake of having 50 kids and not moving into a 50-bedroom house. So what do? You can't increase your house size. I mean, we can't add more land or increase our property. So you have to implement laws and rules that are in your construct to, you know, basically control the society at large. Now you get into New World Order and RFID chips, and you know. But as an Illuminati, I'm an Illuminati, let's say, and I'm going to say, you know, there are 7 billion people on the planet, and 5 billion of them are dumbasses. They really are. I mean, in the scope of things, they quite literally are dumbasses. So what are we going to do, Charlie? What are we going to do, Joe? Well, let's put these little chips in them and control them. Let's have Agenda 21. There's a lot of things we can do. You know, let's have wars. And it's out of control because of the quantity, like the puppies and kittens. What Bob Barker would say, spade and neuter your pets. It's the same kind of thing. You know, what do you do? 9,000 kittens are euthanized every single month. So people are no different. What are you going to do, kill them all? No, you stop it at the source. The type of person that's allowed to possess guns, the type of people that are being born. I'm going on a campaign to cease to implement spading and neutering people. Literally, I'm doing this. And hopefully in 10 years it'll take hold. I know it sounds crazy, but it's really not crazy. When you look around and you see all the people, 3.2 million people are incarcerated, you know, not including county jails. And all 40,000 people die every year of gun control. 4,000 kids die of guns every year. You know, and the statistics go on and on and on. If you know, that's not enough proof, then I don't know what is.
Well,
yeah.
Well, this is the first time I've actually noticed you in the chat, and I'm glad you called in. Have you heard the show before?
Have I heard what?
Have you heard the show before on Thursday night?
No, first time.
Okay. All right, well, this is this is why I didn't correct you because you were new, so I figured, okay, well, he probably has never heard the show before. What we teach here is true freedoms, the difference between what is lawful and what is legal, how the government has brought about the control and change, why we've gotten here to begin with, and why we have permits equal permission and we no longer have rights. So we cover a lot of that. When you're saying the word country, one of the big problems is the correction of our verbiage. The United States of America is not, nor has it ever been, a country.
Right.
Ever.
It's a republic.
No. The political system originally was a republic, and we've become a democracy. But the country itself, okay, is not the United States or any form thereof. Each country is the actual state one was born, according to the law books. So in other words, I was born in New Jersey. My rightful country is New Jersey. I currently reside in the country of Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
People talk about the Constitution. Well, I ask you which one, and many people will respond, "Well, there's only one." Well, obviously, people who say it's only one have lacked the proper education, because there's 51 constitutions. There is a federal constitution, and each individual country making up the union also have their own constitution. That was just to give you some of the the updates of what we cover here and how we go about doing that. We have our own textbook here. We're part of the People's Awareness Coalition, also known as PAC, P-A-C.
Mm-hmm.
Our textbook is The Red Amendment, also known as TRA. Excellent book. If you can only order it through us, online or by mail. You can only order it through PAC. The main site is pacalliance.us. That's our main site. That's the new site.
I see it here.
For this year.
I'm on now.
Oh, okay. And that's who we are. That's what it's all about, is teaching and educating and true freedom, lawful freedom. PAC's been around doing this for 15 years publicly, of what we call correcting status, removing one's federal citizenship, and returning them back into the proper republic, where you no longer need permits and permission. And we do very strict screenings on the moral code, because like you said, it's about like-minded people. We don't want drug addicts and, et cetera, being part of PAC.
Here's a question for you, Mike. The problem is, which like? One of the things I've noticed, I'm getting a better understanding of, is the constructs of the country and its downfalls. And one of the downfalls is that it's not coinciding with the universe. And what do I mean by that? If you think about life on a universal, not a terrestrial level, so if it's good on a subatomic particle, it's good on a celestial level, okay, is standardization, unification. All of the body is connected, and all of life is connected, and the stars, and all within its macro and microcosms, it's connected. But interestingly, Americans are disconnected within their own body of the surrounding borders of the country. What do I mean by that is 50 states. 50 states kind of is like Microsoft, or I should say the computers before Microsoft, if you remember that. You couldn't plug in a Toshiba or a Gateway printer into an HP because everybody had a different USB or whatever outlet, until Microsoft came along and said, nope, standardization. Well, that, unfortunately or fortunately, represents the universe. A hydrogen atom in Alpha Centauri is exactly the same molecular weight as a hydrogen atom on Earth. And so it is with a bazillion other things. Uniformity, because it's interconnectivity. The problem with individual freedoms, not that I'm not a totalitarianism or a fascist or nothing like that, but is that, like I said, there is a certain sense of responsibility and accountability that one must possess in order to be a part of that game. If they don't possess that, they don't deserve to be in that game, because as you know, one bad apple can absolutely destroy the barrel. Oh, yeah. So this is the problem in the United States. Texas is different from New Jersey, which is different than this, blah, blah, blah. And then all the individuals are different as well. This isn't Japan or China, where we're all monogenous. It's a polygynous society. So, I think it's okay to have sex with a 14-year-old, and you think it's okay to have 16 wives. Well, who's right? Who's wrong? You know what I mean? And so that's a problem. It's the pre-Microsoft days of computerism, if you will. It's only when we have a collective consciousness that we all agree, which is supposed to be the Constitution or whatever body we decide, we, the people, decide, then we have uniformity, then we have cohesive reliance and cohesive, mellifluous existence, if you will.
That's what we had in the beginning. You're right.
Right.
It's what we had in the beginning. What changed everything, which you'll see all throughout the PAC sites, it all revolves around the 14th Amendment. Okay. The 14th Amendment is what destroyed the Union, what destroyed what people refer to as the country, America, if you will. You can put a lot of blame in a lot of different places. But the bottom line comes down to the 14th Amendment. If it wasn't for the 14th Amendment, we would not be in our situation that we are currently in. Prior to the 14th Amendment, we were a republic. We were a communities of like-minded people. We had, yes, there was the Civil War that took place. People call it the Civil War, but that's not what it was actually, the true title of it. Since 1940, they've been doing nothing but dumbing down the population intentionally. That's why we have public school systems. It's a public control institute is what it is. They purposely and intentionally dumbed down the citizens of the Union. So they didn't know what they were doing. So they didn't understand that they were actually enslaved and being taken over and becoming a slave species, if you will. And this is why we have, like a lot of people say, well, there's no real law. You know, it's only something is legal.
So the due process clause, let me interrupt you. So what do you mean the 14th Amendment was the demise of the country?
The 14th Amendment?
The equal protection, right?
No. The 14th Amendment was the amendment for the very first time that allowed the 10-mile square of Washington, D.C. to have citizens. All people born in the United States are citizens thereof. The problem is people don't understand that 10-mile square, Washington, D.C., like I said, the United States is not a country, never has been. It's actually foreign land within the Union. That's why they don't have statehood. They don't have any sitting representation in Senate, Congress, nowhere. They're not even allowed to vote. It's actually foreign territory. And their jurisdiction is only the 10-mile square of Washington, D.C. Right. How they extended their jurisdiction beyond that was with the 14th Amendment, making everyone citizens of that 10-mile square, and also why you cannot own real property, because you are owner in the Union.
But that's only D.C.
Everybody born in the United States of America is a citizen of the United States. The United States is the 10-mile square in D.C. There is nobody that resides other than aliens, and I don't mean aliens from outer space, other than alien residents, okay, that are non-citizens, except for those that have expatriated lawfully.
So what would let's remove the 14th Amendment now? How would things be different?
It goes right back then to you got to remember, the federal Constitution does not and never did apply to you and me. That's where people get confused. We the people has never been you and me. We the people by law has always meant the rulers. And that goes throughout history. It's been that way ever since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
Way back in through Roman laws and times. The original organic Constitution, in other words, Amendment 1 through, people include the original 13, which is fine, only pertain to the individual states, i.e. countries that make up the Union. Never had anything to do with the citizenship of those individual countries. We, as far as individual people, fell under our own constitutions. In other words, the Constitution of New Jersey, Constitution of Florida, etc. Okay? We were bound by those laws of the land, of the state constitution, until the 14th Amendment.
Well, you got to remember, though, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying, but, this country was founded on convicts. And people, again, self-government govern, the word government is mind control. Govern is, Meint is men in German, and govern is control. So, it's like people are like 3-year-olds. You give a baby a knife or a sharp pencil, he's going to want to play with it. Obviously, as an adult, you're going to say, no, 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 and he's going to get mad. But it's for his own good. Well, I hate to tell you, but adults are really no different. They really aren't, especially the uneducated group. I mean, back before 1850, 1840, a whole group of people thought it was to their financial gain to enslave an entire group of others. And they fought a war and lost to uphold their position, even to this day. And so that putrid, dysfunctional mentality to this very day still ensues in the underlying, behaviors of millions of people right now. Imagine that. So now what if a whole other group of people thought that, I don't know, whatever I can make up, okay?
Right.
And they decided to enact that over in the north, and over in the east we had here and this and that. I mean, think about the melee it would be. It would be a mountainous level of division.
Well,
and it doesn't coincide with the universe, with life, with nature.
Where you're coming from, and I agree with it. The reason why that one particular thing, like you're saying, everybody would be individual and chaotic at that point. Okay, like you're saying, the different groups.
To a degree.
Right, to a degree.
I mean, we had 1,500. We had 1,500 levels. We had 15 different kinds of currency back in the days of Lincoln. Think about that. I mean, that's crazy. You can't have that.
I agree. This is why the federal Constitution was set up. Okay, the federal Constitution, the United States of America, if you will, the federal Constitution was set up for that specific reason. Okay, if they had simply stuck with, if we look at the time from the first enactment of the Constitution, okay, up until the 14th Amendment, everyone got along. There was no real problems anywhere.
Yep.
The states all got along. Everybody was in full agreement. There was no permits or permission. Everybody, because we all had the same moral code. Now, overnight, when they passed the 14th Amendment, the changes didn't take place overnight. We're talking 150 years ago. Little by little, gradually, because once the people accepted the 14th Amendment, and it wasn't fully implemented until the Civil War, excuse me for calling it by its wrong name, the war between states, until after that took place, okay, that's when the North officials, not saying the northern people or anything like that, the northern officials came in, the military power at the time, forced all the southern states to change their constitution to include verbiage of the 14th Amendment. It was done at gunpoint.
Okay. But if it was the South, if it were up to the South, I got a theory I'm going to throw at you in a minute. If it were up to the South, they'd still be the way that they are to back in the days. I mean, think about it.
That would be great.
So, I'm not a Federalist. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Okay, I am a truth surveyor. I look for ultimate truth because I totally align myself with there's only one truth all the time, happening every nanosecond of the day. The key is to find that so-called quote-unquote black box of truth in all things. And so there's relative truth and there's absolute. So the truth of the matter is that, I'm not a Federalist, like I said, but you can see how things would transpose had it gone the way it was going, like it is today. Probably, I would assume it would be worse. I don't think that the 14th Amendment solely was responsible for the demise of the country. I think it was the mores and the ethos of the country at large, fueled by a huge degree of ignorance overall. That is my personal opinion, but it appears to be along that line. And the South, my theory, is a huge part of the demise. Southern influence has been a ginormous contributor to the demise of this country. Ginormous. You don't believe me? Go turn on Country Music Channel television and watch any program. It's just as bad as the rappers, okay? The same stupidity and ignorance country music channel. The only problem is the country music has been accepted. Bumpkins and rednecks are accepted around the country. Like it's just the thing to do. Kind of like smoking was in the 40s with Cary Grant and Marilyn Monroe. Well, guess what? They're all dead 35, 40 years later. Okay, just because it's okay and it's accepted doesn't mean it's right or correct. And country, the Southern way, the Southern mentality, white is right, our way or the highway, Confederacy, blah, 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 all, separatism, completely goes against the very fiber of the cells that they're made of. If the heart was against the liver and the liver was against the kidneys, you wouldn't have a body. Okay? So it doesn't even coincide with life.
Somebody has has given you a lot of misinformation on the South, my friend. What
misinformation is that? Like what?
Well, first of all, it had nothing to do with separatism. Okay? That was the North. Slavery started in the North. The first slave owner was a black man.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with color of skin. It had to do with wealth. Okay? The South, if it wasn't for the South, and still today, if it's not for the South, the North would be dead. The South is all agriculture. And I'll tell you what,
I understand that.
Some of them may only have an 8th grade education. That 8th grade education they have and the experience of life with raising cattle, growing crops, working at their land, okay, living debt-free, I'll tell you what, if the Union was that way, we would still be the glorious, most beautiful place on the planet, because that's the way it was. Okay, that really was. North is all...
as long as you subjugated a group of individuals for it.
No, we never subjugated anybody in the South. That was the North.
What are you talking about? With slavery,
that was the North. That was the North.
What are you talking about? It started in the North and it ended in the South.
It started in the North.
Okay, who cares who threw the first stone is not the point. What happens is, what do you get today? What's the end result?
But as far as, like you're saying, they're a bunch of rednecks and blah, 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 and they're the problem of history, and the Country Channel's all wrong. If it wasn't for the rednecks, okay, the North would be dead because they all starved to death.
But the point I'm making is that you're mixing two topics. I'm saying that I get that they helped the North. That's fine. However, they did it with a huge, huge price. You don't think that lynchings and all the things that took place in the South just as little as 20, 30 years ago wasn't seriously detrimental to an entire group of individuals to this day? Come on, let's be real here. We, the people, to form a more perfect union.
Just don't single out the South. It was the North as well.
Well, but the North had taken on after the proclamation and years after that the fight to say no, we're not going to participate. England had given up slaves long before that, and then it carried over to New England and then trickled down into the South. Okay, and so when you look at history, I mean, it wasn't the North that the slaves were. It wasn't the South that the slaves were freeing to escape slavery. Obviously, it was the other way around. Yes, I get it. They started it through the first stone. I get that. But it didn't continue. So if it didn't continue, they made a mistake.
Let me correct you on that. Okay? You're saying it didn't continue. Okay? Do you realize that the state of New Jersey, up until, I believe the official date is 1998, that wasn't that long ago. That's our lifetime. 1998, the state country of New Jersey, finally and officially, the last holdout since the Civil War, outlawed slavery. That up until
but that's irrelevant because it didn't. Because you're talking semantics here.
Lawfully allowed.
You're talking semantics. So what?
Well, you're saying that the South
was also
not. The North was the last. New Jersey was the last state to declare slavery unlawful.
But that's not the point. That's irrelevant to the fact. The facts are what? Did you find hundreds of slaves still founded on Jersey shores? No. Who cares? There's also laws in the books that say, tons of things. Oral copulation is illegal, okay? And millions of people engage in it. So, whatever with that. The point I'm making is I'm talking about what you're doing is you're splitting hairs, and you're saying, oh, well, New Jersey had a book on it. I don't care about necessarily case or statute law. I care about the facts and the details of data that is today. What's going on really? Bottom line? All of life is bottom line. What's the bottom line? Was New Jersey holding slaves in its warehouses in 1998? I don't think so. And did slaves run to the South in the Southern after the proclamation? I don't think so. Okay, so it's what you're telling me is kind of an arbitrary fact that really has no credence whatsoever, other than it's on paper. It didn't
other
happen.
than the handful of slaves that ran to the north, and I do mean handful out of all that there was literally less than 3%. Learn history. There was less than 3% of the slaves that moved to the north. So it's not like 90% of the slaves all ran north. And actually, I'm a northerner. Remember, I was born in New Jersey. I'm not defending the South. Trust me. Okay? In that aspect, that I'm not doing.
What's your point here? I'm trying to get to what is your point of that?
Okay.
You're going to tell me a little. Listen, I'm making a claim that says cigarette smoking is bad, and I got 400,000 people to prove that they die every year. You're telling me about your grandfather that's been smoking for 50 years and your grandmother that's been smoking for 27 years, and those individual cases of your family that smokes does not unsubstantiate the 400,000 that do. You see what I'm saying? So bringing up those little points is along those lines. It doesn't change the fabric of overall what I'm trying to tell you. And that is simply that you made a comment that if it had still stuck with the South, we'd be better off. Well, unfortunately, it is by the white male, the white male Protestant, Anglo-Saxon Protestant, that caused an immense amount of division in this country in the first place. In fact, I love the way the Constitution starts out, all men are created equal, unless you're Indian, Asian, Black, Hispanic, or even a female. Think about it, okay? If you're anything other, back then, if you were anything other than that, if you're an Indian, you're getting shot. If you're a Chinese, you're only good to wash my laundry. If you're a Black, you're a slave, and a Hispanic is a lazy beaner. Okay, so where
do you get that from?
Where I get that from? Just go look at your history. Go look at movies.
First of all, you're talking about Hollywood's opinion. Second off, history is written by
opinion is reflected in the people that produce the films, my friend. Go look. You know what? I watch a documentary almost every single day. I watch thousands of documentaries all over the internet.
Actually, they're some of my favorite.
And topdocumentary.com is one of the things I want to throw out to all your listeners. Wonderful place. Everybody should watch topdocumentary.com and just look at the plethora of stuff that's out there. And when you see the stuff, Real Engine, REEL Engine, great documentary, top award winner about the treatment of American Indians in film. And there are myriad of others that this is the credo of the country since the beginning when it started, okay?
I agree with you.
You can't throw that away. So that has a ripple effect, and it had a ripple effect, my friend. I agree. So I'm not saying that all people in the South are bad and that every Southerner should die. No. But what I'm saying is when you look at neo-Nazi groups or separatist groups, they're not Mexicans. They're not Jews. They're not Asians. They're white. And where do they emanate from? Washington State? No. New York? No. The South. Okay, they have for years. And it's so they are that's the first stone. That's the first domino right there. Now, you cut that out. You cut that head off that tank.
The white people come from the South. Now I'm confused.
What's that?
The white people come from the South?
No, I didn't say they come from the South, but the mentalities, the ideologies that come from that region of individuals, unlike those coming from Vermont or Maine or even, Michigan, are different. There's a different mindset. I've been all over this country, in car, too, driven. And there is definitely a underlying fabric with many millions, well, I say millions, tens of thousands of individuals from, Florida all the way to New Mexico and from Texas all the way up to, the Dakotas, and it is what it is. I'm not making this up. You can go there yourself and see for yourself and see the fabric of individuals versus the Californians, the Northern Cals, the Washingtons, the Oregonians, the New Yorkers, the Maines, you know what I mean? There's a huge difference in attitude. Not everyone, but by and large. And that attitude has permeated the entire region and has carried through the years. You see? And it is what it is. So you can quote, you know, the New Jersey statute and law and blah, 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 but facts are facts are facts, and that's what I meant by truth. Truth is the black box or the camera above the accident. It is irrefutable. It is what it is. Regardless of your opinion and your thoughts or your feelings, the black box tells it as it took place, if you can capture that black box. Now, of course, many times in life, we can't. So we have to conjecture. But that is ultimate truth. And that's what I pursue. Not my opinion, not your opinion, but the way it happened, period. So, and it's just unfortunate that we have so much division in this country. I just watched History Channel today, about the rise of the neo-Nazis again in America. It's called American Neo-Nazi, brand new program. You know, and it's always that same song and dance. It's all based on fear. It's all fear-based mentality. You know, us versus them, whoever us is and whoever them is.
Well, that is the problem, defining who is who.
And I wish we had a lot more of the key is in this country is this beautiful, beautiful tool called the internet, and it's education. I just saw this National Geo. Bushmen in the Calamari now have more cell phones. They now are more in abundance of cell phones than any other thing, any other common thing, even water in their farmlands and stuff. They have cell phones now, and cell phones bring knowledge. And now, I mean, people are tired of the same old bullshit. Why do you think Time Magazine's Man of the Year? You know who that was in 2011? The protester, the faceless protester, for the first time in the history of mankind. Okay, we are tired. Well, I shouldn't say the first time, but contemporary. We are tired of the bullshit and the oligarchy that's been running the show. The show is over with the people who've been running it, namely, unfortunately, the white male. And I'm not saying this because I'm prejudiced. Well, I am, but that's relevant. I'm saying it because that's the facts. Those are just the data. That's just the facts of Syria and Egypt and Libya and Iraq and just all in the United States and New York, okay, and L.A. They're tired. It's not working. And a part of the problem is separatism. The separatists, I'm American, I got my rights, you can't tell me what to do. Bullshit. Exactly what it is. Bullshit. Because that's not the universe. Do you think you have like 50,000 different kinds of zebra or lion or, no. There's only a few strains of the same cat with slight deviations of the same species. There isn't like a dog with its heart and the tail and its eyeballs on its ass. No. That's not how the universe, how nature works. It's uniformity. You see, all people are 96.4% exactly the same. Exactly. We're only 4% different from a woman, from a transsexual, from a black or a white. Imagine that. Only 4%. So that means 96-point-something% were identical down to the DNA, down to the molecule. So when are the people going to get that? When are you going to get that, people? Do you think a tree in Ethiopia is different than a tree in Alaska? No. It's almost exactly the same. Carbon, bark, leaves, water, veins, etc. Just like any fish in the water or anything, any insect or whatever, every rock. Uniformity, my friend. It works. Nature proves it every single time. And that's the problem with Americans. They think that their individual freedoms is the key, is the number one thing. It's everything. It's not. Freedom, don't get me wrong, man. Freedom is awesome. It's the best. But it comes with a price and a responsibility. You got to earn it. You can't just be given it. If you were just given a Ferrari, you probably wouldn't take care of it, but you sure would if you earned it,
Yippers. Well, Tony, we thank you for the call. You're welcome to hang in there. We're coming up to the top of the hour here, so we get ready to go into our break. So I'll put you guys on mute, and we'll be back in a few minutes here. A lot of good stuff, a lot of different topics hidden into one. Many different things there that we ran through that last hour, thanks to Tony. There was a request given asking me about the story again, for me to tell the story, which would be good because Tony hasn't heard this one before, about the buffalo. And we can learn, Tony may not have caught earlier when I had mentioned to him that he's speaking to a Native American. I'm also a retired truck driver. So yes, I know the Union well. I know its people. I probably isn't a place that I haven't been inside, and I've also even been over to Europe. So I'm well traveled in that aspect. But we took a lesson as natives, Americans. We were watching the Indians. As Indians, we were watching the wildlife around us, the first great chiefs, if you will, the wolves, the buffalo. And we noticed that during a blizzard, during a big storm that was coming through, that instead of running from it, the buffalo, they would turn and face the storm. Well, we were wondering why they did that, and we continued to watch, and we learned. The reason the buffalo during a blizzard turn into the storm and walk head on, facing it head on, is because no matter what problems we may face today, the quickest point from any location to another location has always been a straight line. The blizzard is coming at you. So turn towards that blizzard, that time of trouble. Don't try to go around it. Don't try to run away from it. But face your problems head on, and you will get through them that much faster. And then they'll be behind you, and you can move on to the next piece of trouble that life may throw at you. With that being said, we're going to listen to one of my favorite artists, Jack Gladstone, and his tale of the buffalo faces the blizzard.
Faces a blizzard, faces a storm, was born on the plains when the ice turned to warm. A buffalo person, the chief of his kind, with the grass he was aligned. A double-horned headdress, a woolly warm robe, enveloped a ton of muscle and bone. Bound tight with power, with pride to defy the flesh-eater tribes. Faces a blizzard, faces a storm, was the heart of the circle nature formed, a covenant born. North to the muskeg, east to the shore, south where the grass falls to desert's floor, west through the mountains, backbone you roamed, your hooves marked your home. Faces a blizzard, faces a storm, through your time, traveled battles you have honed. The majesty shone as the blood-stained cross of progress lumbered heavy over this land. Nothing could stand as it had before. But for you, my black-toothed brother, whose flesh through us was reborn, the cloth of creation is scattered and worn. Linear mindset with arrogance squared divided our home into property shares. Cattle brought sickness, though you were immune. Their gift leads to your doom. Texas a blizzard, Texas a storm. Through your time-traveled battles, you have honed the majesty shown. Texas a blizzard, Texas a storm. You're still the heart of the circle nature formed, a covenant torn.
Thank you, Jack, for that beautiful song. Top of the hour. We're at our 8 o'clock hour. We opened up the show tonight talking about the Second Amendment. And I mentioned I want to share an article that was sent to me. It was written by one of our regular listeners, been with us a long time, on this particular topic. And I'm going to share that with you now. Let's see. Doc, with Facebook now completely censoring all pro-Second Amendment comments and permanently suspending those accounts, I think it is important to make one final statement about it before we are all thrown in jail. I think it would be great if you read the following on air, and you can use my name as the author if you want. I am not frightened. That's all right, Chris. Neither am I. That's why I'm reading it for you. The intention of the Second Amendment was to make it not only the right, but the duty of the citizens to protect themselves, protect their community, and protect their way of life against those who would take their rights away. Well, guess what, folks? The government is trying to take them. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with muzzle loaders or bayonets or weasel traps or menacingly dull and rusty fishhooks or whatever was in vogue at the time. It has everything to do with making sure that the citizenry has firepower, at least as effective as those who would kill them, take their property, and take their way of life. I'm pretty sure he meant, and take away their way of life. The words written in those founding documents were written to transcend thousands of years. If people would just study them, they would recognize that. Now, you'll get the argument that nukes should not be in the hands of citizens. My rebuttals to this specious are, yeah, hello, specious, it must be a misspelt word there, argument are so obvious and elementary that it should not bear repeating. But with people wanting to take away the last right, which is the one and only barrier against losing all remaining rights, that being the means to protect ourselves, I have a duty to speak out on it, and I choose to do so. First of all, the citizenry should have never allowed such monstrosities as nukes and chemical weapons of mass destruction to threaten them. But it is what it is. Yes, every household in the world has a right to protect themselves by the same means as those threatening them, because the Declaration of Independence and Constitution, Bill of Rights, was written to be a template for all of the countries around the world to follow, and to free themselves from their own tyranny and corruption. This means that nukes in our backyard should be commonplace by now. As ridiculous as that sounds, that was the intent. No doubt about it in my mind. It is not also ridiculous that we, the numbers, so to speak, have allowed them to parade these weapons in front of our faces. Hypocrisy abounds. I tell you what, if it was a transparent mandate to have a minimum of 1 million backyards in the U.S. to be equipped with ICBMs, I bet there would be a complete transparent global nuclear disarmament before the ground was even excavated. If that is what it would take to preserve their power, nuke problem solved with the stroke of a pen. Look, we allow these evil warmongers to use their weapons against us. Don't you think it's time we admit that we made a mistake by allowing it? If you want to get rid of all weapons, then take them out of the hands of the murdering governments first. Until that happens, I kind of like the notion of being able to protect myself from them. That is, if you can call a single shotgun versus ICBMs, Air Forces, tank divisions, and Navy's protection. If it is true that there is safety in numbers, then we are the numbers, trying to take the rights of their neighbors. Democracy. That's why democracy sucks. I love using sports analogies for things like this because it seems that it is something people can connect with. So here's a funny story. I was at a basketball game, along with thousands of spectators. There was a contested call with the ball going out of bounds, and the refs were going to award it to the visiting team, as that is the way they saw it. After all, that is what they get paid to do. Well, it was a close play, and of course the crowd was booing and screaming at the refs, telling them that they got it wrong. A person in the crowd near me was also shouting at the refs, and by the way, he was actually within earshot of the refs. But what he was shouting was different than what most were saying. He was yelling, "Come on, ref, we all saw it. I thought this was a democracy." Man, democracy sucks. After reviewing the play, it turns out they were right after all. The visiting team was awarded the ball. But did that matter to the Democrians? No. You see, democracy tells us that even if something is wrong, it is actually right, as long as most people agree with it at the time. And those with rights, well, they be damned. Our constitutional republic clearly was created to prevent such silly notions. This was not a true story, only in my mind. If it were true, I would have been that guy yelling, "Democracy sucks." Besides, a basketball game? I wish I could afford NBA basket tickets. The basketball analogy I suggested places our government body in the place of the referees. And the crowd, well, sheeple and sheeple, period, when it comes to the Second Amendment. Will the government body look at the replay and choose to recognize our rights, or will they merely please the manipulation sheeple crowd and get what they ultimately want, a disarmed citizenry? The right to bear arms, any and all arms, is not an opinion which should be up for discussion. They are mistaken that it is an opinion at all. All of the people who want to trample on and outright remove the rights of their friends, neighbors, and family will eventually have something taken away from them as well. And they can only blame themselves and will need only look back at the rights that they helped to take away from their supposed loved ones. If they truly loved them, they would recognize and respect their God-given rights. Those who are familiar with me know that I am fully aware that as citizens, We have contractually agreed to live without the protections of the unalienable rights in our founding documents. But that does not necessarily mean that I think we should live as though this is true, because I am working towards changing that tragic situation. Since it was through deceit and trickery that they were able to achieve this. Mao Tse-tung, millions of their own citizenry killed after gun confiscation. Pol Pot, Hitler, Stalin, just to mention a few. I can state the official numbers of deaths, but there will always be people disputing them, and those disputing that it happened at all. Well, they are simply idiots, useful idiots. Governments are responsible for hundreds of millions of murders in the last century alone. That is the fact, undisputable. Look, you grabbing sheep. If you think the mass murders by past governments will not happen here, just look at the Obama assassinations and drone murders and tell me that he does not have it in him. Hell, just look at the mass murders in Libya and Hillary standing over Gaddafi's body like some sort of dictator herself. And even if Obama doesn't do it himself, what will prevent the next democratical elected president from doing it? Obama has already pushed free America to the edge. Mission accomplished. Taking a long, well-deserved vacation in Hawaii. They came, they saw, they conquered. All right. And they will do it again, and again, and again. Good thing we have elections. Just think, if Hitler was only elected by the people, maybe he wouldn't have had it within him to do what he did. Because, hey, the people are so smart, right? What's that? Hitler was elected? Oh, my bad. I guess that settles it then. The people wanted to get rid of the Second Amendment, and right am I wrong? As wrong as someone in the 49% can be. And in a democracy, of course, that is 100% wrong. My opinion don't matter at all in a democracy. One thing cannot be debated. Those living under a democracy will get exactly what they deserve. The views and their opinions expressed by this author are not necessarily those of Freedom Reigns and their affiliates, but I hope they are. Well done, Chris. Well done. There's many, many things in there that... Jesse, your mic's back hot, dear. Jess, you there? Oh, I guess you muted herself.
I had to. My son's got his little popcorn thing going. I can't hear nothing, and I don't want that background noise.
No problem. I get where you're coming from in that letter there, Chris, for sure. There's a lot of truth spoken in there. And it's so true that anytime that the population is disarmed, democracy takes hold and many more people die. And Tony had mentioned earlier about people dying. 4,000 kids a year get killed by handguns or by guns, period. And friendly fire, if you will. Oh, really? Well, guess what? That ain't squat. Because over 20,000 children die of starvation on this planet every day. So don't tell me about the 4,000 who were ignorant or who were killed accidentally or who found an unsecured gun or who grabbed a gun and brought it to school because they were pissed off. Because 4,000? Yeah, every life is precious. But sorry, doesn't compare to starvation. Chairman Mao responsible for millions upon millions of deaths that took place when he was in office. Almost all of them due to starvation. And his answer to it was, teach the people to eat less. The problem isn't with the people and citizens of the Union or any place else around the world. The problem, folks, is government, period. We think we have freedoms. We don't. We're all slaves to the system. We think we're the greatest country in the world. I'll tell you what, if you looked on the list of the freest countries around the globe, we're near the bottom, folks. There's a couple of dictating countries that I'd prefer to live in over the Union. And then people say, oh, then why don't you just move there? Sorry. Because I'm not a citizen of theirs. I'm a citizen of this one. And I prefer to correct the problems of this one. We can't vote them out, folks. First of all, voting's a crime. If you've been here long enough, you know that. Just the word citizen is evil because it's attached to democracy. Again, evil. And what's the New World Order's total intent? Democracy around the globe. All 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto have been filled right here in the great America. And it's what they're bringing to the rest of the damn planet. Are we all alike? Yes. 7%. We are all human beings. And we're only a couple of differences, like Tony said, and maybe 3-4% that separate us all. But that 3 and 4%, believe it or not, is a great, great number. Especially when you consider we only use about 10% of our brains.
Don't get me started on that topic, Doc. We could be here all day.
That's all right.
The use of our brain.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And we have no control over it. We have no vote in it. We have no say in it because it doesn't matter.
Never have.
We've been living under martial law since its first declaration during the Civil War. We are not free. Never have been. Or I shouldn't say never have been. I haven't been since the Civil War. And that's the truth. You want to look up truth? You want to see truth? That's the truth of the fact, people. A lot of people, like Tony, have come in over the years, many years of teaching this, have come in with similar views, similar opinions as he had. And I agree with a lot of them. Don't get me wrong. There's quite a bit I agree with what he was saying. I'm a firm believer that out of every hour, out of every minute, out of every second, we only have 2 choices in life. Every step we take, every breath we take, there's only 2 choices. Either to love or to hate. I'm all about loving everyone and embracing everyone and whatever beliefs they may have. But I do hate the government. Not the people of the government, as many of them apparently don't even know any better themselves. There's only a handful of true dictators, for a lack of a better word, in the free world here. It all came down to the money system. Once they brought in the Federal Reserve and passed all that, and how'd they do all that? They did it through war and manipulation. We're dumb because we've been dumbed down. We're dumb because we're educated in their system. It is their education. It is their history. It's not the true history. You can watch a million documentaries. I've seen tons of them because I enjoy them myself. Like Tony says, he tries to bring in documentary. Well, for every documentary telling you one thing, I can show you another one showing that that one was false. Because there is no fact involved. It's the opinionated fact of the information retained at that moment to write that and make that particular film. It's not fact as in black and white. It is the opinion of the author. And when we look at even older documents and texts and different text and hieroglyphs and going all the way back into the clay tablets, we look at them We're not from that era. We don't understand that language. So we're taking it upon somebody else's translation of that particular document. And we're taught, we can learn foreign languages. We can learn through archaeology many things. And every day archaeology proves our history wrong. Like actually how old this planet is, how long ago the dinosaurs roamed, how long they roamed on the earth. This information gets proven as false every day. So we don't play with history here. We stick to real truth, real fact, as it applies today. The truth of the fact is the 14th Amendment enslaved us all and made us all foreigners to the land we currently reside on. That's the truth. That's the hard, cold fact. And the next hard, cold fact that there is no disputing on, no matter how many in the Patriot movement want to believe otherwise, there is only one lawful way to correct that mistake. Yes, amendments can be changed. Yes, you can vote on this. Yes, you can vote on that. But above all things, there is one superior law. Now, I'm talking about not superior law as far as God's or, moral code or any other BS, because that changes from spirit to spirit. You got dark spirits and you got light spirits. So there will always be a battle of opposites. But there's one law above all other laws, and that is the contract. The contract makes the law, period. Go to any court. They'll tell you the same thing. It doesn't matter what statute is written. It doesn't matter what the circumstances may or may not be. The contract supersedes all other laws, period. End of story. You have contracted into the system. Thereby, you are a subject to and a slave thereof, their private system, also known as democracy. The lawful means passed by Congress, signed off by the presidencies, in all the historical records, found in the 15 statutes at large at the government's Library of Congress. Look it up. And it is expatriation. The mistake that people make is they expatriate to a country outside of the Union. Thereby residing here makes you an illegal alien eligible for deportation to whatever country you may have expatriated to. Difference with PAC, we found the truth. That each state making up the Union is an individual country. Proof of that is in every law book. Proof of that is by their own written constitution, which is their law of their land. So you expatriate to one of the countries that make up the Union of America. And then you're no longer subject and slavery or slaver to their private system. It's that simple, folks. This is not brain surgery. The process has been laid out for you. The textbook is there and printed. There's a lot of things that go along with it because a lot of contracts that you have to undo that you're currently involved in that tie you to the private system, the central bankers of the crown of the, the whole political system going all through rulers above everyone. The Vatican is sitting a Pope on a rope sitting in Vatican City are owners and rulers of this planet. They've only ruled Great Britain thousands or I don't know, say thousands of years or whatever it's been. All right. The Queen is nothing more than a figurehead, like our sitting president. Nothing more than a figurehead. They own nothing. The Queen is considered sovereign only on her 140-acre land. That beyond that 140 acres, guess what? She's nobody. She has no authority whatsoever. None. Zero. And people want to say, well, Great Britain, we're ruled by the crown. Really? The crown is not in charge, folks. The Vatican is. Go to the top. Go to the real power. And that goes for Canada and Mexico, as well as the great American Union, as well as Great Britain in its entirety. It's all owned, purchased outright by the Vatican. So when I hear people say, oh, we're under control of the crown. No, we're not. We're not under the control of anybody but the Vatican. Go to the top. Follow the money, folks. Go to the top. Anywho, the bottom line is, folks, we have that choice, love or hate. We want our weapons to protect ourselves, and we have them. Certain people in government are trying to take them away. If you go to, I got the recording somewhere on one of the PAC sites a long, long time ago, and I know it's still there. I just don't know which title it's under. I believe it's under the gun banning. If you do gunning or gun ban at any of the PACs, / gun ban at any of the PAC sites, PACalliance.us / gun banning, you should bring it to that video. And at the end of that, near the end of that video, during the congressional hearing, there's a young lady sitting in there. She's one of the witnesses, or whatever you want to call them, when they get called to the congressional hearing on this topic, when they hold these hearings on all the time, actually. Her name was Susan. And at the end of it all, she finally was so frustrated and had enough. She was one of the final speakers there. She looked him square in the face, and she says, I have my guns. I have them lawfully. And you know why I have my guns and why that Second Amendment's in place is not to protect me from my neighbor as much as it is to protect me from you idiots sitting up there in the damn booth. And she said that directly to Congress. And it's recorded live and went over C-SPAN. And she called them all out. Okay? I got my weapons for one reason, to protect myself from you assholes. Excuse my French. And guess what, folks? Like many other gun holders, Katrina ain't happening to me. They will take me out in a body bag because I will stand up on that principle. And if you think I won't shoot first, you got another thing coming to you. You come and invade my property. You break in my door with your M16s and whatever else you got drawn with 20 SWAT team members and military personnel who have orders to shoot and kill U.S. citizens. There, but won't be going home in a body bag with me. So you better think twice before you follow that order to kick in my door. And that's the right attitude to have. It's not to give up your guns, folks. It's to not be afraid to use them. And use them lawfully to protect yourself. Where's Jose? Where's Jose when I need him? Crazy night. Sorry for my rant. Anywho. Jesse, you still there? See you guys.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just have to mute myself and then unmute myself because anytime I have myself unmuted, I don't freaking hear anything.
Oh, sorry, dear.
No, it's not you. It's my stupid phone. No, I was going to say, the whole Katrina thing, they can come into my house. You know, it's happened again. They can come into my apartment. They can look. I've got my weapons. I'll tell you that right now. And I know where they're at, and I can and will use them if need be. And I'm not talking about just my bow. Yes, I've got guns. They can come in. They can go ahead and come into my apartment. They're not going to find them. They can raid both my cars. They're not going to find my guns. Yes, my guns are in my house, but you're not going to find them. You're going to have one hell of a time. You're going to have to talk to my manager about tearing apart the entire complex, and I don't think he's going to have that. But I know where my guns are. They're not. Yes.
And the beauty thing about it, folks, the only guns that they can even say that you have are anything registered. Go to gun shows. Do not register your weapons. And keep them out of plain sight. Because when they come knocking on the door in that situation, they're going to ask specifically, well, not specifically because people are so friggin' stupid. Oh, do you have any guns? And people say, oh, yeah. Oh, well, let's go. Cough them up. So know which ones you have registered and which ones you don't. Because when they come knocking at my door, oh, yeah, here you go. You interested in my little 22 that I have? That's the target practice. You know, knock yourself out. That's the only gun that's registered in this household. Not saying it's the only one here. Okay? So that's the point. All right? They can only come after you for what is documented. You want to come after me because I have that particular registered weapon and that little 22 scares you so much you want to take away that 22? Knock yourself out. Here you go. I give it to you. You be toast. But anyway, I digress. Ugh. What a crazy night we had tonight, huh? Covered a gazillion topics, started with the Second Amendment, ended on the Second Amendment. And yet we still have a half hour to go. I know Jose would have loved that conversation there with Tony. And Tony, please, I hope you're still listening. I invite you to call back in, especially when Jose's here. He is much, much better on all the historical and history stuff than I am. I only do so much of that particular research. It's not my main topic. That's more of Jose's alley. He knows all that stuff forward, backward, inside, out. He'd be the one you'd want to have a conversation with. Anyway, sounds like my throat's getting dry there. Time to get... I'm just reading the chat as we go. I think it's time we take a break here. Grab another song there. Let's play another one from Jack. We haven't really been playing him for a while. Just got so much else going on. One of my favorites, When the Land Belonged to God. We'll be right back.
The purest gift is not of gold, but an art that awakens the soul. On the spring heat of 16, Charlie Russell departed from his St. Louis home, a young man whose big dreams had delivered a call to the heart. So by train and stagecoach he made his way through an endless sea of grass that blew to the shore of the big sky's unbroken sod, when the land belonged to God. A rising choir of buffalo, mountains were sentinels for creatures below, stirring tones from long ago that survived an eclipse of the soul. As the curtain closed on our noble play, before the stage was struck by cashiers and surveyors, he carefully captured the scenes of the big sky's unbroken sod, when the land belonged to God. Where all the wild kin of man danced in rhythm with the land, where grizzly bear and gray wolf were first chiefs, where episodes of old man's travels helped our people first unravel the mystery of sacred time between the earth and sky. Time respects the careful hand when chosen colors are dry, the vision forever stands. The purest gift is not of gold, but an art that awakens the soul. As we choose our trail up the great divide to an unknown stage on the other side, we might realign with the scene of the big sky's unbroken sod, where the land belongs to God. On the big sky's unbroken sod, where the land belongs to God.
Olaka. Thank you, Jack. All right, let's see if we got Jesse back. We lost her there. Oh, I hear the baby. She must be back.
I didn't mute myself. Damn it. Oh, I did.
All right, kiddo, what were you trying to rant off or go into? Because...
Okay. I was ranting... I was ranting about the whole Hurricane Katrina thing. If that was to ever happen here, which is like a very big not likely, they can like search my apartment. I mean, I have my weapons, you know, besides my bow and whatnot. But they can't. I have my guns, but they can't find them. They can search my apartment. They're not going to find them. They can search both my cars. They're not going to find them. They are in my house, but they're going to have one hell of a time trying to find them, and they're also going to have one hell of a time trying to get my landlord to go ahead and say tear apart the building just to find the weapons. So, and none of them are registered either.
Right about there is where you cut off. Got that point.
That's all I was going to say. That's it. I'm done.
Really?
Yes.
Well, then we heard you.
You what?
Then we heard all that. We heard all that the first time. I thought we lost. You had more of us. Lost.
No, the only thing that I had said that I apparently had got cut off was if they do come in here, they're going to have one hell of a time trying to get the landlord to okay to tear apart the building. So that's it. I'm done.
You're not allowed to be done. We got 20 minutes to go yet.
I didn't hear it. Say it again.
It's not allowed to be done. We have 20 more minutes to go yet.
I'm not going to sit here and rant for the last 20 minutes. It's Hose was here. He'd totally do it. Hose was here. He'd totally do it.
You there? Sound effect there. Oh, I lost the call there. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe they'll call back. Through her speakers there. Oh, lost her too. There we go. Boy, people are dropping like flies. All right, let's see. I think she's back now. You back now? Jess?
Yeah, back with the screaming kid. What happened?
I don't know. Everything kind of like reset, or something really screwy happened on the board there. Had a caller there for a minute. Was getting all kinds of beep, beep, beep and noise, and that was it. And then they just died. They disappeared, and then next thing you know, you disappeared. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know what was happening. So that was kind of screwy. You guys still hear me? Hello? Oh.
I'm here.
Good grief. Yeah, I heard a little one crying in the background there. Go take care of the little one. We're going to take a break, so I'm going to play a song here. One a little bit longer, so I can actually get away from the computer for a second and do what I got to do. Letter to the World. We'll be right back.
The sun came plummeting down on that fateful morn. The sky's surreal peace burst into storm. People's lives in a flash were no more. The hearts of friends and relatives were broken by the score. In the aftermath of attack smoldered a U.S. flag. It was given and held in peace by the chief of the camp. Our elders, our women, our children's lives were taken so senselessly. This was General Sheridan's strategy in 1817. Before there were Christians, before there was Islam, before there was Judaism, before there was Buddha, remind our people so our mothers can applaud. Before the isms and the entities, we were children of God. We're passing through an age of miracles and seething rage. How should our freedom be construed? We are a firefly's flash, the breath of a buffalo, a shadow losing self in the sun. Shadows lose themselves in the sun. Dark day comes to an end as a new one begins. The key to our healing includes selflessness within. A loving mother and children can awaken our daily lives. If tomorrow hope does emerge, it is we who decide. Before there were Christians, before there was Islam, before there was Judaism, before there was Buddha, remind our people so our mothers can applaud. Beyond the isms and the entities, we are children of God. Abandon this insanity for the children.
having a good time tonight in the chat room. If you can, please join us for our live shows every Thursday night from 7 p.m. until 9 o'clock. And you can join us over there at the freedomreigns.us. We always seem to have a pretty good crowd in the chat room. You never know what kind of topics we pop up or what we're talking about. The bottom line is, folks, for all of you from the very beginning of time, it's been about division, dividing groups into different categories, dividing into different classes based on wealth, division within the family, and the adversary, the government, if you want to call them that, they're very good at division. They're not the ones that carry the guns and go out there and fight the wars and battles. They sit back, tell you what to do. They tell you how to do it. They train you how to do it. Not question orders, etc., etc., etc. And we go along, do our thing. If there was such thing as a moral code, a real moral code that was within our DNA structure, we would know the difference between right and wrong before it happens, not after it happens. We would understand that so many people who sit there and try to claim themselves to be Christian join the military and go off and take a life like it's nothing. Well, not that it's like it's nothing, but because some other idiot in a suit tells them to. Time to put down the guns, folks, as far as the military goes. You want peace on Earth? Real simple. Bring all of our people home. No matter what country they're from. Okay? End the wars. That civil war going on over there in the Middle East, that damn thing's been going on for 1,400 plus years. I don't even think a New World Order can calm those fires, if you will. Those are religious battles, to be honest. We've covered that in the past. Yeah, talk about 4,000 people. Everybody's a little sensitive about the topic right now because, just not that long ago, we had the shootout over there at the school. And we see these type of stories. And we're sensitive to it at the moment. However, even with that one small incident, look at the rest of the world, what's going on. Count yourself very lucky and very blessed, even with all our downfalls, to be here in the Union right now. How would you feel about being a child in a third world country and goes to bed with pains in their stomach from not having enough to eat? Or another child who dies at 9 years old because they're riddled with microorganism pests in their stomachs and throughout their systems because they don't have clean drinking water. And yet, you got these people fighting each other, and what do? We go over there and bring more fight. We don't bring peace. There's not one time in our history here in the United States that I think we could say that a war actually brought peace. Yeah, some people say, the Cold War doesn't bring peace. Cold War should never be started to begin with. No war should ever start to begin with, because the people who want the war are the big bankers. They're the ones who finance both sides of the war. It's all about them. It's the bankers who want the wars. It's the bankers who finance all this crap. It's the bankers who own the damn planet. You can make a difference. I'm talking about the average everyday citizen. I'm about the military people out there. You can make a difference just by saying no. Don't deploy. Use your damn brains. Search for the moral code within, knowing how wrong it is. Stay here. Come back home. Get out of the damn military if you have to. Stay here to defend and protect the homeland. People say, oh, well, if we don't fight them there, they'll come here. Really? I don't think so. It's never, ever happened before. Not until we got into the world wars. Most battles that were so-called kind of going to be fought here were over real fast. And there's a reason for that. We have 35 known terrorist camps operating here in the United States, in America, in the Union here. Anytime Islam decides they want to cause an uprising, guess what? They got the equipment, they got the manpower, and they don't care about infidels, meaning you and me. That's when war is going to break out on this land. Well, now we look at who's in office. He's a Muslim, folks. Why do you think he's keeping our troops out of here? Because the cells decide to go active. The terrorist camps decide to say, now it's time. Where's all our men and women? Over there. Over there. Where they belong, right here. You guys got to start undoing the brainwashing that you've been indoctrinated with this patriotic bullshit, with a flag that doesn't represent you at all, with this government that has never represented the people. You hear it all the time from everybody out there. Wake up. The problem is you're not waking up. 99%. Guess what, folks? There's only 1% that's actually awake. The rest of you are still brainwashed and indoctrinated by some patriotic hype bullshit. Learn the damn truth. Do the research. Stop being a puppet all your life. Because the bottom line is, it's time to say no. No more to murder. No more to the rape. No more to the pillage and plunder of victory. They have rewritten our moral codes. And it's time to erase the crap that they have fed you and find your true self, your true spirit of light. Because, bottom line, is through it all, there's only one thing that I said that always matters. It's time to love, not hate. Because after all, love can build a bridge. And we're going to let this song take us out for the evening. Till next week, folks. God bless. Be safe. Try to make the right choice. Jesse, you have any final words?
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Doc. That's it.
Love you. Till later. Bye-bye.